Bill and Chris Sharpless reached out to us, who are alums and successful architects in New York City. And they proposed starting a robotics club, and that's really where that started. And then it evolved, and we kept talking about the possibility of an innovation lab, and that they might actually design it for us. And in fact, that's what did happen. So that was exciting.
Since basically the moment I heard of makerspace education and design thinking, I immediately went out and visited a million schools. And one of the things that I thought was most impressive were the labs that really integrated themselves into the school and complemented the work that's going on in the classrooms.
The Innovation Lab, oh my, I wish it was here when I was here. Having students think outside the box, you know, looking at different things from a new perspective. The Innovation Lab allows for students and faculty to think about a unit we might have done before, and it might have been just pen and paper. How can we take that unit and create something new?
Innovation brings problem solving. It brings this message that you need to design, you need to ask questions, you need to engage with colleagues and get feedback, you need to try and fail multiple times until you get this product. And giving students that message through innovation, I think, is an important life message.
One thing that you'll learn in the Innovation Lab is you might have a great idea, but it doesn't really come together immediately. And that's a good lesson to learn, actually, so that they learn that the importance of perseverance and resilience until you work through that whole process to finally get to an outcome with which you're pleased.
It's a space for them to sort of lean into their strengths and their interests. It's sort of like the ultimate form of differentiation, because there's so much opportunity and student choice and agency. It's rare to see a student that isn't enthralled by the work that we do in the lab.
How we cross-pollinate what has always been really good about our program, the reading and the writing, hallmarks of Benchmark, with this design thinking, this aspect of critical thinking. I can't think of a single thing since Word ID being more relevant than our Innovation Lab.
Dr. Irene Gaskins was an amazing person. What a passion. I mean, there's so many different ways. It's just, I look back and think, you know, being a female, talking about learning differences, creating the school. I mean, the whole story about the school was built to the end. It's just an amazing story, right? Irene is like a whirlwind, a hurricane. It's just like, oh my God, so much going on. Rob Gaskins, he was just like the opposite. He was just like that calm, like everything's fine, and he was very thoughtful, thinking through things all the time, and it was a great transition.
Rob was a very thoughtful leader. He took it very seriously, yet he was able to put his own personality and his own kind of look and feel to the role of head of school. Continued many of the great practices that were in place before him. Spent a good deal of time on new issues and new ideas of creativity and mindfulness, and making sure that the staff had all the tools that they need to do as good a job as they could.
Stepping away from the job and the school that I loved so dearly was one of the most difficult decisions of my life. But given the circumstances, it's what I knew that I needed to do for my health, for my family, and for the school.
When he got sick and Ralph came in, Ralph was here to shake things up and to make some changes and to get us all thinking, and he did a mighty fine job of that.
The year that we had with Ralph was a special year. He was so approachable from the beginning. He just made us feel like it was okay that Rob was gone, and that he was stepping in for a year.
You know, he was able to sort of pop up and say, these are the things I think you need to do. These are the visions I think is out there. It's up to you.
Ralph was amazing. I think when he got here and he saw the Innovation Lab and he heard of Rob's vision, he just immediately took off with it and added a lot of value to our work here.
We have a new head. He's not a Gaskins. He's a wonderful young man. He came onto this job at a very, very rough time.
I don't know how we could have gotten to Chris unless we had Ralph. And I think that I'm not sure how we would have gotten to Ralph unless we had Rob. And so in some ways, looking back, it all made sense.
Chris is a wonderful head of school. He believes in transparency, which was true from day one, whether it's with staff or with parents, but talking about where we are and what we're trying to accomplish, I think, are huge. His interest in staff input, in engaging staff, in talking about where we are, what are the questions, what are the concerns, where are we headed, what are the big goals. I think he has exciting ideas for big goals in terms of our moving into the future.
I'm extremely thankful that Chris Hancock is at Benchmark School because basically he is the future of Benchmark. Irene Gaskins, where would we be without her? Rob Gaskins, what an amazing head he was for all those years. Two very, very dear people in my life, and now Chris is the next chapter.
It hits you in the face when you get here. Recently I had a birthday that I hadn't really shared was coming up with anyone, and I arrived to a big sign and balloons, all to my surprise. But I shouldn't be surprised because it's just how Benchmark does things, and to make someone who is living in a new environment feel so welcomed when it was relatively unsolicited, I think speaks to that warmth and that kindness that everybody in this community has.
This COVID year has been difficult. We started the very first day we were sent home. We were online with the kids. Got more and more difficult as time went on. We were excited to come back in September, so relieved to be in front of the students. The amount of changes that went on over the summer are amazing. The kids are complying with the masks and staying behind the shields.
We worked so hard over the summer to try and plan, and we had so many meetings just simply about health and safety, but it's actually been incredible. My little ones wear their masks and wash their hands and line up 6 feet apart.
I really enjoyed teaching during COVID in the sense that it provided students the opportunity to apply everything that we had taught them. They might not have been ready to be pushed out of the nest, but they were. And so it was such a privilege to watch my students in a very difficult situation have to bring forth all that they had learned and be those advocates for themselves. And so many of them were able to do what was asked of them.
If any one place could be prepared for such an unthinkable event, it was this place. And not because of anything other than this is what we do naturally. It speaks to our ability to adapt, to be flexible, to treat each situation with a growth mindset. These are concepts that long predate this COVID-19 pandemic.
My hope for Benchmark's future is that we are a school that is still at the forefront of meeting the needs of our learners, that it's based in sound research, always intentional in what moves we make to take us into the future.
One of the works of these next few years is thinking about how do some of these new things in terms of innovation and even in terms of the technology changes that are happening day by day almost. How do we think about how they integrate into Benchmark and to what we know is important about Benchmark, particularly in the lower school, providing students with literacy?
I obviously am winding down my career. I've got some time left, but I know personally I have goals of turning over the best phys ed program I possibly can to whoever succeeds me, turning over the summer rec program, which I think is one of the finest things we do at Benchmark.
Those first 50 years were filled with research, being out in the forefront, helping others see what is capable of a reader. My hope with these next 50 years is we continue to stay at the forefront, be open to new ideas, challenge ourselves to continue to look for new ways to support not only our students, but our parents, our teachers, our staff, being a benchmark that has opened doors to share our ideas with others.
There is an Austrian philosopher, writer, business author, one of the greatest thinkers, I believe, in the 20th century, Peter Drucker. He says, and I'll paraphrase it, in times of turbulence, it is not the turbulence itself that is the greatest adversary. It's thinking with yesterday's logic. And the decisions we make in the next 3 to 6 months really need to be future focused. And we're positioned really well to do that, I think, because the real genius of Benchmark is how we talk and think about teaching and learning and the students that are in front of us every day in the classrooms. We've learned a lot about how to adapt and innovate and think of creative ways to deliver the best possible experience for our kids' development. And that sets us up so well for success in the next 50 years and beyond.